This is Talking Capital Markets, where ideas drive the markets. We move past the headlines and into the heart of the deal, breaking down IPOs, M&A, governance, and the strategies driving real growth in today's capital landscape. No noise, no hype, just conviction, execution, capital in motion. If you're building companies, raising capital, advising boards, or deploying investment, you're not just listening, you're in the room. And now, here are your hosts, Mike Blankenship and Brian Jue.
Welcome to Talking Capital Markets with Mike and Brian, your go-to source for insights at the intersection of law, finance, and business, everything about the capital markets. I'm Brian Jue, and as always, my co-host, Mike Blankenship. Mike, Texas is hot right now in more ways than one. How's it going out there?
It's doing well, and you're right. It's about 100 degrees outside, so it is hot. But from a capital market standpoint, I think it's a lot has developed in the last couple of years. Late last year, or during last year's legislative session, we saw a lot of updates to the way that they are doing business and trying to transact. We saw a business core that's been out there for a little over a year. A lot of trying to be competitive against the Delaware and its court system, its legislative body, around shared stock and the way that people can bring lawsuits against companies. I think, now we have the Texas Stock Exchange, which is listed, or not listed, but now finally out there. They're starting with the exchange traded products, as we know, and next year we'll see IPOs. And I think there's a lot of pent up demand wanting to potentially see a third exchange, whether or not, the rationale and people want to do it, but we're starting to see a lot of folks trying to do that. In fact, we saw a lot of competition with NYSE Texas and Nasdaq Texas. And so Texas has a lot, and I think there's a lot to offer. A population of almost 40 million people. And here in Houston, see a lot, Dallas see a lot, Austin see a lot. In fact, that triangle between sort of San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, and Houston is what they're saying inside is going to be the next Shenzhen. And if anyone knows, Shenzhen was an old fishing town, and now it's one of the largest places of commerce in China, technology and everything.
Oh, yeah.
So I think Texas has a lot of potential growth. We saw a lot of companies come in from New York, come in from California, Illinois, and come here. It's just been a lot of migration into the state. So it's hot in many areas beyond the weather.
I think it's not a coincidence that, for me personally, all the largest deals that I've dealt with in my career have all been either Texas-centric or had something to do with Texas. And that's even increasing right now. Some of the transactions that, we're looking at and deep in diligence on and working on, Texas, and for numerous reasons. And for you, hey, that's home. You are the managing partner of Winston Taylor's Houston office, so you know it better than anyone. And tell us more about the Texas Stock Exchange, and what do you see that you think they're going to be doing different, and what are they stating that they're trying to do that's a little bit different than getting listed on Nasdaq or the New York Stock Exchange?
Yeah, the first fun cool thing is instead of ringing a bell, you're going to shoot a cannon. So it's a little bit cooler than just sitting up there ringing a bell. But, from looking at companies and listing standards, I think they're a little bit more stringent. So they're going to try to get a kind of higher quality companies possible. They're going to look at on that exchange. I don't know where that will end up, if they'll maintain that. But I think it's the optionality of having a third exchange that's going to help hopefully drive, demand and drive different, competition between them. Remember, Nasdaq and NYSE are both publicly traded companies, so they have public shareholders. Texas Stock Exchange is not. It's got investors outside of it, so it's private at the moment. So there's a little bit different sort of drive on pushing to get fees and other things. So I could see some of that as well being a difference. So energy companies will certainly be there because Texas is home of most energy companies.
Yeah.
I see potentially life sciences companies because there's a big development in the cities. And then, we have a number of private equity based in Texas. And so maybe they'll start trying to list their portfolio companies. We've seen it's very difficult in the middle market private equity right now for deals to transact. So I think having that exchange, maybe will spur some more interest out there. And with the SEC's reform and changes that may come soon, I think we'll start to see hopefully real demand on the Texas Stock Exchange. next year.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we certainly need more optionality. We talk about that all the time. And it's funny. I was thinking about a call that you and I were both on. I think it was last week, and the founders that we were speaking to, they were still rooted in that mindset, just like a lot of founders are, that oh, we got to do it this way, right? The way that everyone's been prescribing, that's the way it needs to get done. And both of us were trying to explain to them that you need to have optionality, and that's the only way to approach things these days, is having optionality, being on a dual track, being able to look at whatever you're trying to do from more than one perspective. And as long as you're prepared and you go down that route with preparation, and really, if you act like you're going to be a publicly traded company, whether or not that's in the cards, it's a great way to go, because now you're ready. And so with the Texas Stock Exchange, now we have one more route for people to consider.
Yeah, and I think if anything, we are a market-driven economy that we need choice, and you need to have it. Otherwise, get monopolistic businesses, antitrust issues, and I think having another way for them to go creates better economics, creates that competition. I think it also has provided more issuer aligned kind of focus and marketing, developing long-term relationships with these issues, really trying to get, support. And I think you'll start seeing some of that with the exchanges really helping those companies out in the same way that you'll help them try to choose which exchange to use. And I think that's an important piece as they're, going down their journey and trying to figure out. I mean, like the Texas business ecosystem is large. I mean, we've got more than 10% of the Fortune 500 headquarters are in Texas. That's a big number. And, we have a nearly $3 trillion economy. And I think that grabbing some of that market share and being part of that would be pretty fun for some of these companies.
As a native Californian, and of course as a 49ers fan, and growing up in time and era when it was 49ers versus the Cowboys, right? One thing that a lot of people don't understand about California that are outside of California is that it's such a large state. And really, the state can be divided up into multiple states with very diverse demographics and in each, and different kinds of economy and so forth. Texas is kind of the same way, right? I mean, what do you see changing, or do you see it still being sort of the same way, where you have, Austin and Dallas, Fort Worth and Houston and San Antonio, and all a little bit different? Do you still see that where there's going to be real industry emphasis in each of those locations, or do you see it kind of really just becoming a business hotbed, and regardless of industry?
Yeah, I think it's still going to have each city is going to differentiate itself from the other, where you have Dallas is more of a private equity kind of general headquartered, companies in North Dallas. You've got Houston, which remains, energy capital, and you've got life sciences as well here. And then Austin's going to have the tech sector, but there is still the common thread of Texas and being able to say you're operating a business and operating here. I think what we're going to see is probably more companies incorporate here. We're going to see more move out to here, and I think the environment is very friendly, unlike maybe some other states where you've got a state that's willing to, hopefully have the smart regulation, but not overregulate, and has, lets the freedom of commerce exist. And it's what we've seen. It's part of the reason why you get all this growth. I don't think Texas, as a whole, as a state, and to your point, California has Sacramento is different than San Francisco. San Francisco is different than LA and different San Diego, where, here, same thing. You have different kinds of cities, but at the core, it still remains they're doing business in Texas and maintaining that. So I think that will be to the advantage of anyone looking to the state for to do business here.
Well, yeah, and to your point there, I think if I think about it for a minute, one of the publicly traded companies I'm a part of, domiciled in Texas. Some of the stuff that you and I are working on, domiciled in Texas. And I really actually can't think of anything in California that I'm a part of right now. I mean, as far as, domiciled and centered there. So yeah, no, I think it's going to keep going. I'm excited about it. And great state. Even though I will never be able to root for the Cowboys, right?
Sorry to hear
It is
that.
a great.
You could see over here, I have a nice big Dallas jersey. It's just waiting for you, Brian.
All right. Well, hey, thank you all for joining Mike Blankenship and I on another episode of Talking Capital Markets. Make sure to follow us, and we'll see you on the next episode.